Hi, I'm Roy Moore with the Scout Patch Auction, and I am joined. This is a series of what I'm calling expert class or master class informational podcasts with one of the veteran hobbyists and enthusiasts, Michael Feigenbaum of New York. And Michael's history, and I was talking with some fellow collectors of note, they didn't know you were professional by trade, a graphic artist.
Yes.
You worked for Avon Corporation, I remember, but,
Yes.
but you are trained, your college degrees are in graphic arts, and that has been your professional design. I was on an earlier video mentioned that I first met Michael at the 73 NOAC, where he was receiving the Distinguished Service Award, and one of the reasons he was being presented with our highest honor for the Order of the Arrow was what we're about to look next at, some of his contribution to the designs and branding and images for the Order of the Arrow starting in the early 1970s. So Michael, take it away, please.
Okay, and get that book and patch over.
Sure.
Anyway, I first started to work for the Order of the Arrow nationally in 1970. I'd done a lot of work for my council, designing mugs for dinners and patches for camporees and area patches. And we had a wonderful man named Dave Boucher, and he became National Executive Secretary, and he knew of my work. So he asked me to do a design for a planning conference. And here is a design for the planning conference, right here.
And these are actually mock-ups. This is a prototype or a proof.
Well, this is a printed piece.
Okay.
Okay, but this is
There's
a sketch of it, and there it is on stationery. And you can see the bulletin. And the bulletin had an arrow on it, but it had to be reduced. And it almost was like a signature or a www.com signature. So the arrow wasn't too good using it as a
brand or an emblem,
a
or it
brand.
wasn't distinctive enough.
A few years earlier, Martin Mockford had designed this Indian, and it was wonderful. And I'm going to talk about this a little bit later. So, the following year, or at least in 1973 sometime, early, they had me design a new masthead for the National Bulletin. And here it is. On the bottom is the original one, done by hand. I was very good at doing things by hand. It wasn't done on a computer. And here's the printed piece, okay? To the whatever it is. And on top is the original artwork for that Indian. Okay, and here's a letter thanking me for it from Dave Boucher.
National Secretary is the highest, or it's the national office position in support of the Order of the Arrow. It's changed, its title has evolved over the years, but that's how I first recall it, was as National Secretary. Dave Boucher, again from the 60s to very early 70s as that goes.
So anyway, they miraculously invited me to a planning conference at Schiff during 72-73 Christmas break. And they wanted me to give a presentation for how to choose a proper emblem for the national conference. And I gave a talk. I forgot what I talked about, but it could have been, well, choose a simple design, make sure, don't be fooled by color, it'll only confuse you. And the simpler design is a stronger design. Big companies have simple designs. So I submitted design. These national conference emblems are a contest. And surprisingly, I didn't know it then, but they chose mine. And here's my airbrush illustration of the conference emblem. And over here is a three-dimensional mock-up, which they had to make before they reduced it to the pen. Okay? And I did this artwork for a masthead for the national conference. Well, it was the first time I would do artwork for a national conference, and that would go on for years. A contest would be held, but whatever was chosen, I would do the finished artwork and work on it leading up to the conference. My work at the conference was the end of the road. I had worked for months providing all kinds of support material and all that stuff. Well, I was invited over to a piano in the Grand Ballroom at Schiff. It was a man, a nice fella, his name was Captain Obermeyer, and he was a military sea captain, and he became head of the ships with Mobil Oil. I'd visit him, I believe, and I would visit him in the Chrysler Building in New York, and he said, Michael, every time we do this National Indian, it costs us money and it comes out different. And we'd like you to do it in one color. Well, I already did it in one color, and here it is. So he meant something else. Here it is in one color.
And again,
sort
this
of.
is, yeah, 1971, 1972
Yeah.
time frame, 72 through
Right.
73, okay?
So something is missing.
Here's this.
No, something else is missing. Okay. Here we go. Very happy about that. Okay. So, here's an example of it being made in metal. And it wasn't coming out too good. It was a metal disc. And I believed it was done before then. Okay? And I found recently these original sketches of my attempt to turn it into a circle. Here it is. But it wasn't too contemporary. And I was taught to always do it so contemporary that would last forever. So, I was influenced by this photograph. Here it is being used on an invitation card. I took it out of a national conference report. There was a photograph of a national chief. I used it here, and I loved it, and I used it on a few things. So here it is blown up, you can see it. So that influenced me a great deal. And of course, I had seen the Metro Golden Mayer lion. So I started to work on it, and I did several drawings. Here are the originals. These are the originals, okay?
Different iterations, different varieties as you're by hand designing all of these in an ink or pen.
Right, and it went over, it went on for over a month until I finally came to it. I shared it with the national people. They loved it. The Native Americans liked it because it gave that it was youthful, it was futuristic, it was
But also respectful and gave
very
it,
respectful, and it looked like the Indian was smart and had vision for the future. And that was a good thing.
and the committee then adopted it as the new brand
No,
image? No,
it wasn't adopted as a new brand. It was adopted as a partner to the other Indian. Well, that was the first conference I became art director of.
Yeah, 73. Yeah, this one here.
That's right. I showed this already.
Well, yeah, but how, yes, it carried through your original recommendations to the planning meeting.
Sure.
They adapted, and that's when you were
So-
transitioning the new design.
So I did artwork that said National Conference Committee. And this is an enlarged version, which I always do large so I can fit everything in, measure it exactly so it's perfect. And here it is. And I reduced it. I was asked to make a badge in plastic. You can move your hand up. For the first time, I was asked to make a badge in plastic. So I went downtown and had white discs cut. I probably made 50 to 100. And then I reduced the emblem that you see here, and I hand cut it. In those days, I had no access to photos to make it into a screen.
For stencil, or for
That's
screen
right. I
printing,
did
or screen
everything
printing.
by hand. I did everything by hand. I was very good doing things by hand. Okay? So I did that and made the badge. And I put a pin on back. And I brought it to the conference. And it was placed on the banquet before the conference started. And
For the National Committee and the
right,
the
it was
chiefs.
on right. It was on every table, but no one touched it. And Eon Goodman came in eventually and put it on his shirt. When he put it on his shirt, everybody put it on their shirt. It's very interesting to see.
And I'm going to show this real close, but there you can see him wearing, this is a black and white picture, but of Goodman wearing this first plastic National Committee badge
Right.
with the new design
Yes.
that you had printed up.
Right,
And made.
right. So, let's see. So eventually they made that pin into a patch. And then I started to work on clip art. The Order of the Arrow had no clip art. So I took every bit of insignia that the Order of the Arrow had, and I started to do clip art. And this is the clip art. And as you see, the round red Indian goes along with the Martin Montfort Indian, okay? And the ring of type around the Indian is Order of the Arrow, Boy Scouts of America. And I illustrated every one of them, not in tone, but in black and white by using a technique of stippling. And here you can see the original artwork that I did. Here's the original artwork of everything, okay?
Again, this is all, folks, this is all done by hand. There's no computers. Every dot on there was hand placed by Michael in the, when he first made these up. And clip art was a term I took print class. It was for offset printing. You would do a design, they'd take a picture, and then that would be etch the plates. But you did not have Adobe Publisher or any other graphic tool.
And we handed it out at conferences.
Mm-hmm.
So lodges could use them in their bulletins. They'd have a tool to promote themselves. And I copied everything. If it was the OA sash, it was done like it was embroidered. And I did the BSA knot. It came out after me, and I worked on showed them the different colors, and they chose this one. And I did this. But as you see, well, I showed it to you on the page before. So everything is there. The arrow, ribbon pin, the arrow by itself, a vigil pin, and
the Distinguished Service Award
and that.
medal.
Yes, so that's the story of that.
So this was the creation of the new design.
Right. And so I started to do a new masthead. They wanted a new masthead. And this is the new masthead that came out of that. This was actually on the clip art. And this is the new masthead. So I did this one, and the second one, and the third one, until they did something else. It lasted several years. Okay? So it's a good thing. Okay? It's a good thing.
And up to this point, they really, I mean, again, this felt good, felt modern. I was a lodge officer in that era, a section officer, and we were a movement moving forward with an image and presentation. Let's just set it aside for now.
Yes, I want to pull this out. So anyway, the 60th anniversary was coming. They wanted to do a special cover for the OA handbook. So when I design, I never like to confuse my client. I only give them 2 choices, or maybe more, but every design they choose, I will have to like. So I don't give them anything that I don't like, all right? Because I have to live with it. So,
again, this is what had been our handbook looking like at that point, or in general, with various covers.
Yes.
And
so I gave them this. I gave them 2 designs. I had designed the 60th anniversary logo. Here it is on the certificate. And I gave them 2 designs. This you see here is the actual original of the one that wasn't chosen,
I've got a hold of it.
using the traditional Indian. And that's the original artwork done in my variation for a cover, all right?
And you were carrying the branding of Order of the Arrow all the way through.
Yes, it would say Order of the Arrow, 60th anniversary, Boy Scouts of America, Order of the Arrow, 60th anniversary,
Just
Boy
keep
Scouts of
wrapping
America.
around here in the
That's
background.
right. That was a nice technique for a background. And this is the one, the other one, which they selected.
So they kept that background, but they put in.
Yeah.
And again, you designed this, but they chose this out.
Yeah, so whichever they designed, it was fine with me. So after that took place, they said, we're running out of jacket patches with the Martin Mockford Indian, and we want to do a jacket patch with the MGM. We may as well do that. So I designed the lettering around it to match the old jacket patch, and here it is, pictured right here.
Yep, there you go. It's
Is
there,
it
Michael.
there?
Yep, you got it.
Right here. All right. So
That became then, and what would that have been, 1975, the new jacket patch design for the
yes,
Olympic.
so it was a transition. Everyone was using both, and it was such a strong feeling to use this new design over a period of time that it was beautiful. It wasn't meant to take over the Martin Mockford Indian, but it finally did.